Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Via Rail. Hopefully, we're all on board. I think we are. So let's start now, if you don't mind. My name is Ray Lane. By the way, at the end of the webinar series this morning, we'll be selecting a prize winner, so which will be a nice backpack and a couple of other goodies from Via Rail. So let's start with Via Rail information first of all. What I'd like to just share with you at the moment is just an overview of the business of Via Rail. It's a huge network, as you can see there, of 12,500 kilometres and 143 train stations and over 2,500 employees. So it is a very significant organisation and covering great amount of services for the travelling public in Canada. You'll see up there now the rail network. It caters for Canadians, for international tourists, for local commuters, and also essential services. So it's a very much sought after network of services. And when you think of maybe in our own country here in Australia, we have a great variety of companies servicing the various states, etc. But in Canada, Via Rail caters for all those services. I'll just briefly go through the most popular services for the Australian market for your clients. Number one will be the Canadian, which is the Cross Canada train service, which is Vancouver to Toronto and return. Then, not necessarily in any order, but the corridor train services, Toronto, Windsor, Montreal, Quebec, those regions. Then we're looking at Skeena, which goes up towards the Inside Passage from Jasper right through to Prince Rupert. We'll go through all of these in more detail later. And then the ocean services, which is through the Maritimes areas and you know, all the New Brunswick, the great countryside through that area. And we also highlight through to Winnipeg, to Churchill, to the Polar Bear region. So maybe we'll start first of all, just as we do have a great variety of trains because of the services we mentioned. Some trains have sleeping facilities, some don't. So we'll just go through them in detail. We'll start with what we have the most popular train service for the Via Rail company, and that's the Canadian, which I mentioned a while ago. Travels Vancouver to Toronto with various stops on the way, and of course also on the way back. As you can see on that slide you have up there now, some magnificent scenery. In the summer season it can be a very, very big train, and you can see two locomotives towing that train there now. And also, if it's a bigger train, they have to put another locomotive on. So going through some amazing territories. The Canadian train, 3 times per week, it operates in the summer season and 2 times per week in the off-season. There's one complimentary stopover example. It could be in Jasper or Edmonton or Winnipeg or whatever. 2 types of classes, economy class and also Sleeper Plus class. Sleeper Plus has 3 styles: berth, single cabin, or a cabin for 2, and we'll go through more of detail of that. It is a spectacular journey, great sightseeing. We have a variety of viewing areas or relaxation areas in the train, as well as a panorama car, which is located on the Canadian trains during the summer periods. We have dome viewing. Several domes are on the train. If you are looking through that slide now, above the people's head, you may see another dome up further. So there are several domes on the train, depending on the size of the train at the time. Obviously, in the summertime, it can be a very long train. It can be maybe a mile long, which indicates we'll have several of those domes. The domes are located above the sleeping carriages. Onboard entertainment is something that is really not generally advertised. It's a service that is provided to up-and-coming entertainers, and there's some really high quality, who visit various folk festivals and fairs and so on, in all the way through from Vancouver through Toronto. So these people are invited to come along. They can entertain the passengers on board, and they get to maybe sing for their supper type thing. So it's a win-win for all concerned, and it's quite a pleasant surprise for passengers that are able to enjoy the entertainment. Entertainment also available and is on the activity car, particularly for the younger traveller. It's very, very important. So we have monitors, there are board games, a great variety of. There's also movies for all age groups available. So there's a lot to do and experience while people are travelling on the train. Nothing more wonderful than the dining facility. The train has a wonderful dining car on board for breakfast, lunch and dinner, depending on the days that people are travelling on and what times they're and where they're getting on and off the train. Chefs prepare and cook all of the food on board the train, so nothing is preheated and brought in. It's all prepared, and it's very, very high quality. I think any restaurant would be proud to serve the food all on plated service and brought to the tables of the passengers. The new dining car has all been refurbished in a upgraded Art Deco style to make it very, very bright, colourful, and very welcoming. It's a wonderful facility, and that's the style of food that you can see there is plated at the table with beverage of choice. Meals are all included in the Sleeper Plus class. People pay, obviously, for a glass or a bottle of wine, depending on what they wish, and prices are very, very reasonable. It would be less than normal restaurant prices for wines, and the food is extremely high quality. Example of what's on the slide there. Okay, the classes, let's go through that. The economy class is the lead-in. It's not something we sell a lot internationally. It's more, or particularly from Australia. You compare it to an airline or a coach, maybe a coach seating facility with reclining seats and footrests, and there's access for a laptop, DVD, and so on. There are blankets available for those who wish to utilise that. And there is a catering service, which is a kiosk-type catering for economy class passengers. For the one that's most popular from Australia is the Sleeper Plus class, berth, cabin for one, and cabin for two. The berth is the lead-in. You can see some dimensions there, and then cabin for one and cabin for two available. You can see on the bottom of the screen we have in the yellow coding the berth style, and then cabin for one on the extreme right-hand side, but the main area are cabins for two, which is the prominent product that's from Australia. Let's just go through briefly the berth style. Your top right-hand slide, you'll see there we've got, which is a daytime configuration, which is an open corridor of the carriage, and two seats on either side of a table. At night time, those chairs fold down. The bulkhead opens up into another upper berth bed, and then heavy curtaining comes across with a ladder access for the top berth. You'll also see a large window for daytime viewing, and also those who are on the bottom can also see out at night time, which is quite important because you know, beautiful star-lit nights, etc., over ravines and canyons are quite spectacular. The type of traveller who takes berth are well-seasoned travellers. However, our most popular are for cabins. A single cabin, it's small, it's compact. You'll see a daytime configuration with a chair, and then on the larger image we've got a bed made up at night time. It is important to highlight to your customers that The Via Rail pricing is per person, so people are not penalised for having a single cabin. You may have an elderly couple or a sole single traveller, and they can utilise a cabin each and not be penalised for pricing. Cabins for two, these are the most popular for the Australian market, as you can see on that slide on the right-hand side. 2 comfortable chairs for daytime, a big panoramic window for viewing and sightseeing if they choose to stay in their cabin for a while, maybe read a book or whatever. There are toilet facility within the cabin and also a handy wash basin. You can see there the viewing is quite spectacular at the large window. We have also fluffy towels and all the amenities that a hotel would have to cater for. Just down the hallway is our bathrooms as well, and there's a shower located down the hallway. So while they have their own private facilities for hand basins and toilet, the shower room is just down the corridor, and it is really spotlessly clean, well looked after by the train staff. Cabin for two, there's a nighttime configuration. Now how this works, when people get on the train staff will ask them, when would you like your bed turned down for night configuration? They'll say either now or after I have my dinner or whatever it may be. They come back and the beds are turned and the chairs are folded down into that type of configuration. You will recall a couple of slides earlier we did have a ladder which goes up to the upper berth, the same facility here in a cabin for two. It's a soft incline. It's not as though it's very, very steep. The beds are very wide. They're very comfortable. And again, the window access for people who like to look out at night time while they're lying in bed is quite a wonderful experience. Baggage, just think of an airline. When people check in at, say, Vancouver or Toronto or Jasper or wherever it may be at their port of entry, cabin baggage is taken on the train by themselves, and their main luggage is in the hold of the train. Cabin baggage is for change of clothes. They may be staying 1 or 2 nights on the train, whichever, so they have enough clothing for a change for that period of time. And then we've got, they can bring their toiletries, facilities, etc., any medications they have. They can bring on the train, and there's ample storage for that. So it's very user-friendly. When they depart the train, the luggage is all taken care of from the hold and brought out to a gathering point. If they're going on the travel by coach or by car or whatever, it's all easily accessible. In the winter months, the train that I just explained, the Canadian, turns into a dusted, covered snow train. So it's very, very spectacular. With snow by the tracks, in the mountains, ravines, rivers and what have you, quite often glazed over with ice, but very, very beautiful and very bright and stunning. It is a great way to travel, particularly in the Jasper, Vancouver aspect as well, through all that Rocky mountains of snow-covered ravines and so on, as you can see in the slides that I'm highlighting there. We have a new class on the Canadian train. It's Prestige class, arguably one of the best forms of travel on a sleeper train anywhere in the world. It is new, as you can see by the slide there, beautiful wood paneling, really lovely soft leather seating, concierge service on the train, so it's all inclusive, all meals, all drinks, etc. on the train. You'll see there an insight into what each cabin looks like. That's a daytime configuration, so you can see the way the high quality. You'll see on the centre one where the lady walking, attendant walking in that door, a large monitor for viewing of movies, of DVDs and what have you. Obviously TV is not available through the Rocky Mountains, etc. However, we have a great library there, or people can bring their own. A configuration there of the bed folded down. These are what they call a Murphy bed. They're larger than a normal double bed. Very, very comfortable, very beautiful. Again, a big panoramic window for viewing outside. And we also have a full ensuite service there with full shower, all other amenities that we just find on an ensuite service. You can see that this area is also, we have an accessible area, one cabin for people who have a wheelchair facility requirement, and that can all be taken care of very, very well. It's very high quality, and as you can see, another slide there of the bed made up at night time. A tray there, people can have breakfast in bed, they can even have dinner served, they can have wine, champagne, whatever served in their room, as you can see there now, whether it be at breakfast in bed or during the daytime. The Prestige car is located right alongside what we call our park car, our Prestige park car. It is like downstairs, it's like a European style bar, very, very stylishly done, very high quality. That's the end of the train. You'll see a bar there, and with access up into a dome. And now the domes are located, as I said, throughout the train. However, there's one right on top of the park car at the back of the train, and you'll see a staircase going up there. These are all LED lighted for nighttime as well, so it's quite romantic, quite glamorous, and very, very safe for walking up and down the stairs. There are footlights and there are LED lights within the handrail as well. So very, very stylish, very spectacular type of way of travelling. So that is the Prestige class on the Canadian train. Now we've also go through some of the other train services, which let's start with the Skeena, which is the service from Jasper via Prince George up to Prince Rupert and return. The train is called the Skeena because it follows the Skeena River and it also follows the Skeena Canyon and valley down through the areas there. It's a 2-day train journey. It's not like the Canadian. It's not a sleeper train, so people overnight at Prince George. It's an all-year-round train service. However, in the touring season, the June, September, we have our touring class on there. There is an economy class, mainly for local essential services and what have you. It's a very, very spectacular area to travel, very rugged, very quaint areas. I mentioned a while ago, essential services are utilised there, so supplies for stores, for villages, for cafes, whatever it might be. We do stop there for a little amount of time at the various stations, depending on what has to be offloaded, etc. And we get to meet the locals at the various train stations along the way. But very, very beautiful scenery, enormous amount of wildlife that you do see from the train. In fact, bear viewing, you can see the bears from the train. The way this works is that the train manager will maybe spot the bears and then on the audio system will highlight bears on the left coming up or whatever, bears on the right coming up, and it gives people plenty of chance to get ready with their cameras to see the bears. There is a dome car on the Skeena train as well for more access to viewing and photography. It's a very, very great way of travelling through a very, very rugged and beautiful area of Canada. Talking of rugged and beautiful areas, we also have the Churchill train, which goes from Winnipeg up to Churchill through Manitoba. You'll see by the site map there that Winnipeg up to the Pass and Thompson and then on to Churchill. The Pass and Thompson are 2 stops. They stop there longer than what our regular trains, and because of, I mentioned a while ago, essential services, we do have goods that need to be loaded off and on the train, so people get a chance to get out and experience those destinations as well. Why do you go to Churchill? Well, that's a good example. Polar bears, viewing from tundra buggies during the winter months, obviously, and also the Northern Lights viewing is very, very possible from Churchill. So it's quite stunning, quite beautiful. And then in the summer months and the days of the midnight sun, we've got beluga whale watching by kayak or by canoe or whatever. So very, very spectacular through the June-July period of the year. The Churchill has economy and sleeper plus class accommodation. Also, food is cooked on the train. It's probably a little less of high quality not so much service, but the food is a little less than the Canadian because it's a different style of train. It's more of a one chef looking after the services there, but again, a very, very wonderful way of travelling. The ocean is the other one that's very, very prominent and becoming more prominent for Australian travellers, and that's through the Maritimes. That's a 3 times per week train from Halifax, I should say Montreal to Halifax or return. It's a 17-hour overnight journey, taking in all the beautiful countryside and the ocean, obviously, and waterways and great mountain viewing, etc., on this train. Sleeper Plus class is available on this in the season, in the tourist season of June to October. And that's also a cabin for 2. We have some cabins which have ensuite type shower facilities not every cabin. This train was built actually for the train to go from UK through to Europe on the tunnel or the channel as they call it. They didn't go ahead with, and VRL bought this train and now utilise it in our the ocean and also the maritime services through Canada. We've got a dome car and all meals obviously on board. That just shows you a nice relaxing way of a cabin and someone in the dining room just relaxing after having a nice meal with a coffee. We also have an interpretive centre. The local guides from the area, from the Maritimes, come on board and highlight the various aspects of what is to experience, what is to do in the Maritimes region of St. Lawrence River, etc., and the provinces of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, etc. Quite a great experience to enjoy. And again, as I mentioned a while ago, excellent food is served at the dining car in plated service situation. Now, the final one I'd like to highlight is the corridor. Is the service? It's very much, think Europe. It's very much like the major cities. You get on the train in the centre of the city, and you travel to a centre of another city, whether it be Montreal, Quebec City, Toronto, Ottawa, Niagara, as you see there. So it's a wonderful train service. We have 2 classes, economy class. Again, think again like an airline, where we have attendants coming down with a trolley. You can purchase food, wine, soft drinks, or whatever it may be, and also a business class. And business class, like again on an airline, high quality food. It's pre-prepared at the stations prior to the train departing. Each of these stations, or most of them, have like a VIP lounge, something like a club lounge of an airline, where they have similar facilities. So that's basically the network that we have in Canada with Via Rail. A great variety of services, some sleeping trains. I shouldn't say the trains are sleeping, but sleeping facilities and dining facilities on the train. Other are more of a service of a city-to-city type train. So hopefully that has given you some information. And Charlie, you may wish to ask if any of our participants have any questions.
Thank you, Ray, so much. Fantastic update and covering all those trains there. So thank you for all that wonderful information.
That's a pleasure.
So guys, the floor is open for questions. So anybody have any questions, please type them into the chat box. So Ray, so all the trains run year round, is that correct?
Yeah, it's a 365-day year service on all of the trains. Some that have Sleeper Plus facilities are more seasonal, but the trains still operate on an economy basis. However, the Canadian train, which is the flagship, is the Sleeper Plus is available all year round. Bearing in mind the Canadian, it operates 3 times per week in the summer season, from westbound to eastbound and east to west, and also in the off-peak season. That dates are available on the on application, etc. Have 2 times per or 2 days per week that travels on, but all other trains as per normal.
Lovely. I have been on the Canadian from Vancouver to Jasper, and it was, yeah, such a fantastic experience. Would love to do it in the winter though, when it's the snow train.
Well,
I think
yeah,
very different.
you know what, Vancouver to Jasper is certainly a highlight, but also Jasper to Vancouver is just as spectacular. In fact, it is easier to get on the train. The train is very heavily booked, Charlie and guests. Some dates are very hard to get from Vancouver to Jasper, so just by changing an itinerary around on your client's touring, they can get probably easier access on the train going from Jasper to Vancouver and not miss out on anything that they would see in the other direction. Also, of course, they can do the entire journey, which is a wonderful, wonderful experience, because they do the Rockies, they do the prairies, and they do the lakes and what have you, or the Ontario region also.
Thank you. I was going to say, yeah, that's a great tip. So traveling east-west rather than west-east to find availability.
Exactly.
That actually leads into Stan's question, which is, do most passengers do the full Canadian route or do shorter point-to-point?
Look, it's gaining more and more popularity of doing the entire journey because of the experience of it all. However, if people are looking, they're excited about the Western Canada of the Rockies, well, they're more likely to do Edmonton, say, Jasper, than Vancouver. That's also very popular. And Winnipeg's becoming a very popular area as well. So, it is expanding. People are expanding out more and more. I think the way travel around on trains around the world, people are looking at new and other things. And we're finding that people are going back, for their second and third visit, so they will experience maybe the longer journey, or they will maybe do the corridor or the ocean train journeys after they've experienced, say, the Vancouver to Jasper, which is sort of, I suppose, the traditional one, but they're not missing out on anything by going the other way.
Thank you. And Jody says, can you just please clarify the summer touring season dates? So which month?
I'll give you, they do change slightly, but I'll give you an idea of just on the Canadian. You're looking at early May to mid-October is the peak season, and off-peak, obviously, October through to the beginning of May, end of October, beginning of May. They're all roughly around the same without going through each one in detail.
Lovely, thank you. Narissa says they book Vancouver to Jasper. Does this journey include the spiral tunnels?
Yes, it does.
Yay! And sorry, I'm just looking. We've got lots of comments here. It's great. Narissa also says, do you have a brochure you could send out, please, or do you have a PDF one, Ray, that maybe you're a brochure link we could send out in the follow-up?
What we'll do, we'll organise something we can certainly do. Maybe, I'm not sure how you wish to do this, Charlie, would you just get me some email addresses and I can get them out to the various participants. If we do a full PDF, it's a very heavy file, however, so maybe we'll see what we can send out, but certainly brochures we can send out.
Okay. Well, in the follow-up, you can see how you want to manage that, or if people want a brochure, maybe they can let you know.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. I think, let me just check all the questions. Okay, Helen says, if you're traveling on a Canadian from east to west and you stop over at different places to tour, do you buy a through fare or do you purchase sectors?
You buy a through fare, you're allowed one stopover, and depending on the number of stops, there are certain costs, but it's best to buy the full fare.
Okay, so on the standard through fare price, there is one stopover included.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
cool. Hopefully that answers your question, Helen.
Always
Grace,
apply. Sorry, just to clarify that a little further, Charlie, is that, or Helen, is that you'd obviously normally be booking this through your favourite wholesaler or tour operator. Ask them what your client wants, and they should be able to organise that for you right away. We are a little flexible depending on the season in regard to making it quite economical for people to have more than one stopover.
Okay, thank you. And the other, Cheryl's just added to that, is there a time limit for the stopover?
I'm not exactly sure of the exact time, but yeah, I think it's 3 months. So I think there's plenty of. Again, always apply. We're very, very flexible, depending on the season and the volume, of course.
Yeah, sure. Lovely, thank you. Grace, are we able to access this presentation at any time? Yes, I can answer that one, Grace. It will be, the recorded version will be put on the CSP website. All of the webinars are recorded and on the CSP website, so you can watch them at any time. So yeah, if you wanted to watch this again, or when you've got a client going and you need a little reminder, then yeah, you can jump on the webinar again.
And that's probably a good answer also, Charlie, for the earlier one that asked what sort of access we can get for the images and what have you. As you said, they're always available on your site.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I think that's all the questions. I think we'll wrap up there. But Ray, thank you so much for an informative webinar this morning. Obviously, with all those questions, everybody really got a lot out of it. So that was really great. Thank you. And
Very good.
Thank you all so much for joining us. And yeah, happy Wednesday. Have a great day.